Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. And we're going to talk about something that many of us lack, and we may even admit that we lack it. And I'm talking about motivation. You feel stuck in life, you're not moving forward, you have plans, you just can't get them going. But maybe that is your self awareness. And we're going to talk about that today. What is self awareness? How to get that, and then how to move your life forward when it comes to the motivation part of it. She works with people all the time, holistically transforming lives and businesses and teams as well. She does leadership training and work as well. Dr. Joanne White joins us again here on the program. How you doing today?
Great, Steve. How are you?
Very well. The
It's a
self
strange day, right? But it's good to be here.
It's an interesting day. Interesting day technologically, things going on here. I'm aware of those. I wonder about the self-awareness part of things. I try to define that in my mind. What is self-awareness?
Okay.
How do you describe it?
Okay. Firstly, it's really about being conscious of what we're doing, our purpose, who we are, really taking a look at ourselves and not necessarily in a judgmental way, which is what we often do. It's about doing it. I sometimes I like to think that we have an observer, that an internal observer that's just watching our actions, our emotions, our behavior, and seeing things without being so critical that we're kind of stymied to be able to move forward. And that happens a lot with people. So it's about knowing who we are, recognizing what's important to us, knowing how we're out in the world with interaction with other people, with ourselves, and getting comfortable with that, but doing it consciously.
Hmm.
Oftentimes we're doing so much stuff and we're not really being consciously aware.
Do
So
you
that's a little
feel?
preview.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, well, I was going to go on that word you just used, consciously aware. Do you feel that since we are so busy now, so many distractions, so much going on, that lack of a better description, we're an autopilot. Call it your subconscious. You're just going through life, getting it done, eat, sleep, rinse and repeat. Is you think that, and that's why we don't have that self awareness?
I think that's a good portion of it. However, how much time does it really take to kind of, when we're doing everything, be there with ourselves in a way that's why I said if we access our observer is internal, it's going with us all the time. So when you're with people, when you're texting, whatever, you still are paying attention to what you're doing rather than just making it rote. It makes a difference in what we're putting out to others, what we're putting out in the world, if we have more of that level of awareness. And it's also about how do we grow ourselves? How do we get from where we are? And I believe we're constantly growing and expanding, but we have to be able to see where we are now, where we want to go, and find the direction or make the direction to get there. But that means also looking at, okay, so what are my talents? What am I lacking? What am I not doing that I want to do? So you have to really kind of look inward. Why is that so I like it. I mean, but why is that for other people? Like, kind of like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to really look at who I am or know. I mean, right?
Hmm. Can you or should you do a check in to see how you're doing with that self awareness thing? Because honestly, I feel that I'm way ahead of where I was, say, even 3, 4 years ago, in terms of being aware, who I am, what I stand for, what I want. Yeah, all of those things, how I present. Um, but how do you check in? I wonder, how do you know if you're where you should be?
So maybe it's about looking at where you want to be
Mm,
and where you are and making note of that. And also taking a look at, well, what did I do today? Did I just was I totally just texting and not being aware? Was I so busy doing other things that I really wasn't paying attention to what my goals and dreams and passions are? And that's very important. Am I on, like you said, on such an automatic reel that I'm not aware of who I am and what I'm interested in? And what I'm putting out in the world. When we're angry, and I was angry a little bit earlier this morning, I was putting out that energy and I had to shift that and say, wait a minute, that's not me. But
Mm.
but for a moment it was, and I had
Hmm.
to be able to be aware of what I'm doing. So how do we know when our actions are correct for us if we're just not paying attention to them?
Do
And
you?
I keep losing my earrings on this show. I'm taking it off.
What else is going to happen? Anything can happen at this point. Uh, do you find that when you go down the journey of better self-awareness, that now we're getting a little more granular here, and I think that's great. When challenges present themselves, that you recover way faster. So, the situation you're describing, or it could be you're driving in the car, somebody cuts you off, you're like, what? And you get triggered for that moment. You say a couple of words, and if you weren't so self-aware, that might go on for a half hour. And
Right.
you're talking to somebody, I was at the corner of blank and blank, and this person coming. But when you're more self-aware, you react, and you're, yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah. And 5 minutes later, you're fine.
Yeah. And that's so important because,
Mm,
again, we can move on. Otherwise, look what's happening to the whole day and what you're putting out to other people, to
yeah.
your family, to your friends, to you, and again, in the world. So, yeah. And self-awareness doesn't have to be so critically like I have to spend hours at it or whatever. It's like, okay, so how do I feel about what I just did?
Mm,
Do I feel good about it? And we can get that instantaneously. That's not a very involved feeling or whatever.
yeah.
But I think it's important that awareness. How do you grow? And I meant to mention this earlier. How do you grow if you don't know where you are and where you've come from? Now, you said that over the years you're seeing your growth and expansion, and I think that's beautiful. I think that's what we're here to do, part of it. But how do you know if you're not checking in, being, looking at it, seeing, okay, well, maybe I made that mistake. And if I keep making that same mistake, I'm going to be in the same place. And if we're not self-aware, we're probably making the same mistake more frequently than we want.
All right, let's go even deeper.
Okay. Yes,
So
let's go deep.
let's go. So you're self-aware.
Yes,
You're getting better at it. Um, but you do repeat those a few things over and over. You know it's not the right path. It's you just know I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be hanging out with that person, whatever it is. But you continue to do it because you're afraid of a little bit of change, or
it's
there's something,
comfortable.
or it's comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. So eventually, and when I work with clients, I'll say, so why did you stay in that relationship when you were getting all these signals and you weren't feeling good about yourself? And some of it's comfort, some of it's, like you said, it's change is hard for people. But sometimes it doesn't have to be such a huge change to just say, wait a minute, my behavior a few minutes ago was not the nicest. It doesn't make me feel good that I yelled at this person. And maybe next time I need to apologize, or maybe I need to apologize now
Mm.
because I'll feel better and that person will feel better. So,
Well, you said it before, and you don't need to apologize for saying the F word. It's okay. We can say it here. And that word is feelings. And that's what I'm getting from you, that when you're checking in, it's not really about checking into a situation. Well, that person cut me off. It's more of the feelings that were involved and recognizing how you're feeling and everything that's around it.
yes, recognizing our feelings, recognizing how we're acting. recognizing that's our behavior, recognizing if we're feeling good about ourselves too, not just what we're doing, but about who we are. And oftentimes, many people are so critical of themselves that they don't give themselves any room to really grow. They get stymied, they get stuck. So feelings are important, but also actions, behavior.
So you said the word, now you said the S word, stuck. Um, so leads us into motivation and
Oh,
and motivating others. So let's say you're more aware of who you are and your feelings. I don't want to say you've mastered it. Do we ever master it? Yeah,
no, it's gross.
it's growth. It's a journey, right? So you've kind of got that figured out, but you're not really motivated in some situations to take action. How do you get that fuel underneath you?
Well, firstly, we need to figure out what we want. So there's a sense of purpose here. So, do I want to interact with those people? Do I want to write a screenplay? What do I want to do? What's my purpose? Where does my passion lie? To me, passion fuels a lot of stuff with respect to motivation. So, what am I passionate about? And if I'm passionate about something and I feel that that's part of my purpose, what am I doing? What am I doing to make it happen? Where's the action piece in that? Because
Hmm.
we could dream. I have people that say, "Oh, I'd love to write a book. Oh, I'd love." Okay, so what's stopping you? Oh, I'm so busy or what? I have some of my client. I had a client that actually, well, I want to do this. I said, so why don't, even if you just spend 20 minutes a day or 20 minutes 3 days a week to just put that in action, that would make you feel so much better and it'll start fueling what you want to do. You're not going to get it done in a minute, but it's moving you forward on your path, and that's important.
Hmm. You bring these things up that bring things to light. Do you think the motivation may be lacking in many of us because the passion is not there? And essentially, we feel maybe deep down inside we haven't recognized it, we haven't admitted it. That's not what I want to be doing. No wonder, people
Yeah,
aren't motivated. It's not aligning with their purpose, whatever that is. You think that's by and large a lot what's going on?
I think that's a part of it. I don't think it's all of it, but I think that's a part of it. And then also with respect to working in an environment, like why are so many people not attending work? I'm sick today. Am I really sick today? I just don't feel like going in. So what's really going on? Where is the alignment? So it's part of about being aligned with your purpose, your passion, your values, what you want to do in the world, where you are now. And one of the ways to motivate yourself, and I see this a lot, is to not just wait to get to the end, but on these little journeys, these little steps, be able to reward yourself. I used to work with kids with special needs and autism, and every little step was something to be able to celebrate to some extent because it helps us move forward. And oftentimes when people think, okay, it's got to be perfect, and you and I talked about that a little bit last time.
Oh, I hate that word. As soon as you say that's
It
my trigger.
doesn't, it, yeah, it doesn't,
It's like, no,
it doesn't
no.
exist.
It's so true.
But it stops us in our path and it doesn't enable us to be able to see, wow, look what I did yesterday or last year, even if it was small, it's a victory. And you don't have to spend thousands of dollars or whatever celebrating a little moment. It's even an acknowledgement.
Mm.
Like, good job. Oh, thank you. I tell her.
We never do it though. We just especially celebrating the little wins. We want big change, but if you look at the last 6 months of our lives, you see, oh, I did that. All right, I did that. Oh, I pulled that one off too. That was pretty cool. All right. And it all adds up to a bigger and better you along the way.
And it makes us feel good, and
Yeah.
it fuels the energy and gets the passion flowing again, and it
Hmm.
helps us to move forward rather than I didn't do anything. I can't do anything. I'm stuck. And no, you're not. We have to be gentle with ourselves. And it's also about how would you treat your child? How would you treat a friend? Would you constantly be in consternation? Would you say, "What's wrong with you? You can't," or would you really be more gentle and encouraging, which is what we have to do with ourselves.
Sure. Isn't it amazing once you become a little more self-aware that you could be having a day. We all have them. You know, it's just a little bit of a challenging day. It's just kind of moving along. And then you realize that one moment you did something that, yeah, I was kind of proud of that. That a little thing doesn't, it could be, you could have went to the gym and you added 10 pounds on a machine.
Wait.
Right. Or you bench press a little bit more, whatever it is. And you look at it and say, yeah, I pulled that one off. That one little, I call them glimmers. It's kind of a trending
I
term now.
like that.
Yeah, and I think it comes from glimmer of hope.
Right.
But that little tiny thing could potentially make your day, like, just like refocus, reframe at that very moment where you were just having kind of like, baseline day, like beep, the littlest thing could spark you up. But unfortunately, a lot of us look at like that gym moment where we just expect it. Well, I should be pushing more weight.
And I'm not here long enough. And how come I only did it today and I didn't do it yesterday or the day before? But yeah, it's so important. Those little moments are precious
Yeah.
and they move us forward. They motivate. They're motivators.
Mm.
Even being reinforcing of ourselves, that's a strong motivator.
You have to really realize what works for you. I know for me with the self-awareness aspect, I need things to look forward to, whatever
Like,
they are. Yeah, and that could even be like I'm working on a project today, and it's just a for a bunch of people I'm aligned with, and we needed, I'm an audio geek. I can mix anything. Been doing it forever. Idea came up, and I'm like, I can't wait to pull that off. And I already know what it's going to sound like, and mix this up for an event that we're doing. Right. I'm excited because I know it's going to sound great, and it's going to make people happy. And it's like I'm looking forward to mixing that. Others may look at it and say, "Well, that's work. You got to do this and you got to do that." No, it'll be done. It'll be great. And that's my little glimmer. Part
yeah,
of one of my glimmers today.
but that also fuels your passion
Yes, it
and
does.
it gives you a sense of purpose
A hundred
and a
percent.
sense of drive
Yep.
and the action steps you're ready to take. So all that is part of being motivated and moving yourself forward. I tell some of my clients, like, well, if you want to go to the gym, like, why aren't you putting that in your schedule? Why, like, you want to go, but why isn't it part of your, okay, this is what I want to do this week? Because I put it in when I want to do that, even when I want to walk,
Mm.
and it makes you feel better, and it's part of what you want. Why is it so hard to give ourselves what we want?
Guilt.
More and that's one way.
Yeah,
Or we don't feel that we deserve it.
absolutely. But yeah, well, I think that also comes back to guilt. Why do you feel you don't deserve something? It could potentially be connected to guilt. I want to
Or
talk
it could
about,
be connected, 1 minute, or it could be connected to other people's messages about you, which may or may not be true. Okay, I'm ready.
and is it true that those messages could have come from your childhood?
Definitely.
Yeah. Motivation. We're talking about motivating ourselves. How do you motivate others? Let's say you're responsible for a team and they're just not getting it done. You're just not feeling that they have that fuel, that fire. How do you get that going?
Well, you got to encourage them. You got to support them. I worked with somebody years ago who said, he said that his goal was to be able to help people achieve beyond where he was. I thought that was beautiful because basically his investment was in others to help them grow and get better. So when you're working with a team, it's about encouraging them, really giving them abilities to share, to know what's going on, to give them a sense of clarity as to what the group purpose is or whatever,
Mm,
so that they're involved in it too. And have people interact and listen. Just let people share and help them grow their confidence. That was a great idea. Thank you. Like
mm.
rather than I remember something that just came to mind when I was actually in college. I had presented a viewpoint that was different than my professor, and he didn't call on me again. Now, other people had agreed with me, but that was his way of, I don't know what his way was, but he couldn't handle it, I guess, right? So when you're working with a lot of people, you may have to be able to accept a little bit of a criticism or a different viewpoint, but it may actually ignite something else in the team and the group and the strategy, and why not?
Well, back to self-aware in that situation where he never called on you again. You could internalize that in many different ways, but it sounds like, go ahead, go ahead.
No, but then what he actually had me do was he called upon me to do other things for him. So he recognized that I had some worth, but I guess he didn't like the fact that I had a different idea in the midst of a whole group.
Well, that's his problem.
I totally agree. I mean, yeah, it wasn't mine.
But in many situations, if you don't have that awareness of yourself, that could go down a bad road. You could be thinking, "Oh my gosh, he doesn't like the way I present. He's going to fail me. He doesn't like me. This is going to go bad. Why doesn't he like me? I thought, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have said something different from him, even though I knew it was the right thing to say. It could go wrong if you think of it in a different term. It
Right.
sounds like you were pretty much grounded in that moment, and it's just like, well, we have a difference of opinion, and it is what it is. That's it.
I would think that when my thinking then was, hey, if I'm in college, don't I have a right to an opinion when we're having a discussion? Duh. I mean, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Well, you bring up a great point, many points, but one that comes to mind. I spoke with a coach not too long ago, just passing conversation. I was introduced to them, and they look at it in three steps. And I won't even get to the first two steps. That doesn't, it's irrelevant. The third step is giving back to others, essential in his mind. And even your methodology, how you do things, how you think, sharing it with others to help them. And many of us look at the reverse and say, well, I'm not going to let them know how I do what I do. I'm not giving up the secret sauce. I'm not. And he doesn't believe that. He says, no, no, you share it with others and it'll come back to you in a big way.
And I totally support that. I think being able to elevate people, bring on their confidence, make them feel good, move them forward so that
Sure.
they feel, yeah, I think that's why not? Especially if you're coaching somebody or you're working with a team,
Yeah.
don't you want to see them thrive? And when they're thriving, you're going to thrive, the business is going to thrive, and it's just going to grow rather than, okay, next.
I find your final thought here, because we're just about out of time,
Oh no.
that the biggest challenge is finding the time. I 100% agree with you, that coach, everything, to help others, move, mentor, whatever you want to call it, inspire. But many times we don't have time, or we don't know how to make time for that because we're getting life done in other areas.
Well, I think it's important to make time. I
Yeah.
do a lot of different things, and I like to make time to help people and also for my other passions because that's part of life. And
Yeah.
it's part of making you feel good and fueling your purpose and making others feel good. And part of what we're here to do is not only take care of ourselves, but help others and help our world become a better place.
Mm, love it. And there are many that believe the reason we're here is to learn and teach.
Yes.
Learn and teach.
Yes, and I believe that too.
Mhm.
Learn, teach, and grow.
Yeah. Uh, and be creative. Some say that as well. We're here to create. That's,
Thank you.
all in all different areas.
Yeah.
Wonderful talking with you. If somebody wants to connect with you, I know that you have a lot of insight on your website. How do we find you?
Okay, so my website is drjoannewhite.com, Dr. Joanne with an E, white.com. I'm on social media, and we just launched Sammy the Squirrel Show on YouTube, which is not just for kids. It's actually to elevate us to feel good, spread love, kindness, compassion. So check that out too, because there's a lot going on with that one.
I 1 billion% will check that out. I was not
Please
aware.
do.
and, and I
We
love
just
squirrels.
we just launched it on Valentine's Day.
Wow. Interesting. And the
There's
fact that
more to that story, Steve, but I can't do it now.
okay, all right. But you know what? I'll check it out. And next time we get together, maybe I can get that
Yeah,
story out of you.
yeah, because there may be another version, but we're at a time where I'd share it right now.
We're out of time, but I'm gonna Sammy and I are gonna become great friends as we are. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Same. We'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.